It's pizza time. I got that deck cranked. I'm at like looking right now. It's about 860 in the middle. I'm bringing you today. It's like one of the easiest pies this summer. If you grow your own, which I always recommend, cherry tomatoes are one of the most fun things to grow. They're super easy. The size of them too. You can and salad on your pizza on anything. They never go to waste. Not that those big fatties do either, but I feel like a cherry tomato on a pizza really does pretty well compared to like those fatty slices sometimes are just like a little too watery. This keeps it bright and you got a ton of variety in there. If you've been following my Instagram for a while, you know I love those sun golds. Last year I just had this insane bumper crop of them. I was making pizzas with them all the time. They're a really easy one to grow. These are organic. They're an heirloom. They're bomb. They're headies. I recommend them. They're really sweet and a lot of fun. So I got those today and also a mix of just a variety of little heirloom cherry tomatoes. We're just gonna put that on really simply with some fresh mozz, garlic, and olive oil. This is one of those ones, just pull those fresh cherry tomatoes from your plants, cook that pizza up right then and there. I mean, it's as fresh as it can be. Keep it really simple. We're gonna ride with basil fresh on the pie when it bakes and then hit it again afterwards. Just some olive oil, the sliced garlic, and just I got these little guys, the fresh mozz I'm gonna break up. On to the dough for this week. This is a new batch of dough. I've actually baked up a couple from this already. I didn't film them, but they came out really good. I changed it up a little bit this time. I incorporated more double zero into this mix and kind of toned it back a bit on that bread flour. I also introduced a little more durum in the mix. This is 10 grams on this for 4 times 290 dough balls. I'll put all that stuff up on the blog. But I dialed back that bread flour. That bread flour brings more chew. When I'm increasing that durum flour too, that's really chewy. So I was like, I'm just playing around with it. And I've been really liking this double zero. It bakes up really nice in the hotter oven. These last couple batches, super puffy. And this one too, I was liking it. It was like puffy with some big bubbles, but also lots of little leopardy. Hopefully maybe we can get that today. I got the oven for this out. If you've been seeing lately, I've been using that little area, that little lower temp range, little hack. I don't know if it's like Ooni endorsed or what, but that little section really seems to do the tricks to lower that temp down a little bit, go for those longer bakes. I was getting, up around 5 minutes. Today though, we're gonna keep it a little hotter because I want more like the Neapolitan vibe-ish going. So I got it pretty well cranked. I've been finding that just regardless of what you're doing, heat it really hot because you want to get that stone hot all the way to the edge here. And, because it's always going to be really hot in the back, but that edge part up here, you want to get a more even bake. So I think going longer than that recommended 20 minutes is crucial for that. Get it hot. And even if you're going to bake a little lower, turn it down. But we're going to keep it, I got 850, but before I'm going to load, I'm going to turn it all the way down, but I'm not going to hit that lower range yet. We'll see how it bakes, and I might go into that. We're shooting maybe a 3-minute bake today. It's a 290 gram dough ball, about 12, 13 inches. I may be going for a little fatty cornichon. I like that look. It's a super fresh summer pie. It's really easy. I'm gonna show you how I stretch. We'll watch it bake, and then we'll crush this thing. I got high hopes. It's looking good. It's pizza time. I got our dough ball now out onto the marble. I just have a little bowl of some bent flour here. I just dusted it with flour. I got what's going to be the bottom side of the pizza that's up right now, and that was the bottom side that I had. I had it in a bowl, or you could put it in a dough tray, whatever you like. Once I get it out onto the marble, I like to, depending on how it comes off, it's feeling a little warm today. That's always a bit concerning. The cooler your surface is, the better. But I got it out here, and I just use that as an opportunity to get it, to round it off one more time. Sometimes when you get it out, it might be slightly mangled. You're always trying to keep it in one piece. But I start, so this is nicely floured, and then just pushing with some pressure, just starting it here on the marble. I mean, I'm just making one pie here. So, I mean, you want to always move fast, but if you're working in a pizzeria or something, you're expected to move quicker than this. But when you're at home, just use your time. And there's some days, I personally like popping these big fatty ones. I think they're just gonna burn when they hit the oven. So I pop them when I see them, but depending on the mood, sometimes I'll leave them. But I just start here, just doing some gentle pressure, or actually some firm pressure, pushing it down into the marble, but even. And I'm leaving that center intact. That's one way to do it. If you watch some of my other videos, I'm saying there's no correct way to stretch. However you get that thing, into a round-ish circle and into the oven. You're having a good day. There's lots of different methods. However you get there is the right one. But I'm picking this up now. As you can see, I barely, like, it's kind of a sloppy stretch, I'm going to say, on that one. But it's all good. And I'm just, I'm going kind of slow here just to show you what I'm doing. But I'm turning it as I'm going. And that's one way to get this stretching. You're using gravity, and you can get that going pretty fast. If you saw, though, too, I'm pretty much leaving that center. You can never take that back once that stretches out. So, if you leave it kind of fat in there in the center, it's like, that gives you a little wiggle room if you're concerned, because if you get that like little thin spot in the center, you're having a bad day, it's a good chance for it to tear. But you can get this kind of stuff. You can see some people you can hit it all the way down to the marble. That's another way of doing it. But, I just like doing this. You can once you get in the rhythm of this, if you're making a lot of pies tonight, you can bust these out really quick. And then get it up, in another way, you can hit it around here, being careful. You're just like kind of resting it on the edge there, being careful to preserve that crust for this kind of like Neapolitan-ish style, whatever you want to call it. We want to have, I like a little pretty fatty cornichon, that's that crust there. And so I'm going to try and leave that intact. As you see here, this dough, I tempered it, but it was kind of a little chilly inside the house today. Maybe I should have brought it outside. Feels a little cold, so it's like wanting to stretch back in. That's like one of the important reasons why you want to temper your dough always to room temperature. That's what I shoot for. But I'm just kind of going through, and like, this is an easy, just careful way to do it. You're not really doing much, especially if your dough is at proper room temp. You can just rest your hands into here and just stretch it lightly. I think when people are first starting out, you can be kind of scared of the dough. This is it's stronger than you think oftentimes. It's like, don't freak out. You can always maybe put a little flour if you got a little hole, and you're just making pizza at home, so don't trip too hard. That's looking pretty good to me. You're trying to make it even. This could have been more even. You see some bubbles there. We're trying to get those out. But I'm just going to clear that flour away, and I'm going, this is going to be the top of the pizza. I'm putting the top down onto the marble, making sure it doesn't like kind of latch over itself, fold over itself. Just kind of slapping on here. We can just hit it with some flour. We got a little breeze here, so it's going everywhere. I don't really want that blowing on that basil, because when that hits, you want that flour absorbed. You don't want a bunch of flour on the top of your pizza, that's for sure, or on your toppings. So work clean if you can. I must say, I got some room to go on that. I could have a cleaner workspace always. Something to strive for, but we're getting it done. Look at that. See, that's another fatty bubble there I'd be concerned about. That would probably burn. But I'm just pushing down here. If you go around the edge here, you can kind of see of like, making it more even. And just making sure this thing isn't sticking to the, to the marble. It's pretty warm. There's like, look at there's a little hole there, but that's all good. You just push it back in a little flour. You're going to be just fine. This is looking, it's kind of a sloppy stretch today, I'm not going to lie, but we'll get it done. Got that fresh cherry tomato pie, hitting it with a little more flour. I'm on camera here, it's taking me a little bit longer to build, so, putting that little extra flour on the bottom, it's going to give me some more time to work. But you can see, you let it sit too long, it's going to start sticking. But I'm just pressing, getting some of those bubbles out, trying to get it more even. Like you can see here, maybe a little bit thinner than over on the other side, but not a big deal. I'm just going to pop it over, clear the workspace again. You can kind of dust off any more flour, just kind of shake it off is what I'm saying. And then get it back onto the marble. You want to make sure you're not goobing it, getting a bunch of flour back onto your crust. Like, look at that. I mean, this is maybe a little small. We'll stretch it more once it gets on the peel before I load it. But this is looking pretty good. You can kind of, smack it, getting any last little air bubbles out. You want to make sure it's not sticking. That's looking pretty good to me. That fat rim, preserving that crust. All right, let's get this show on the road and get this thing baked. Get that flour off. All right, first things first on this one. Start with, I just got some extra virgin olive oil on this just basic kind of plain white pie like this. I do a little fatty base of the oil. I'll probably hit it at the end with the oil too. If you watched me before, I always like to put that garlic on the bottom. This is just thinly sliced garlic. I like putting it on the bottom because less chance of it to burn. I feel like burned garlic is not necessarily a pleasant taste. They're kind of stuck together. Garlic, it's good for the health. We like to go big here on it, but just put as little or as much as you want, or you can skip it on this one. This is a super fresh pie. You can just do the basil and tomatoes and cheese. You're having a good day. I try and get it, a piece of garlic every slice. Next, we're going with the cheese. I like building from the outside in. You know, just kind of arranging them here along the crust. Put one in the center, and then building another rim on the outside of it. I was debating. I was like, man, should I put the basil down before this? Maybe I should have. This is looking pretty good. Oh, I just got this one piece left. Let's just hook it up. We're going fatty today. I'm going to sneak these basil in here. This probably, this should go on the bottom. You can just pick that up. No big. We're going to go fatty on the basil. I'm going to hit it, too, with more basil after the bake. Get the best of both worlds on this one. We'll just kind of put it all over the place. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just get some coverage. That looks pretty good. All right. Now the star of the show. I'm really liking these sun gold tomatoes. So I'm making sure all those are getting on there. But we got a whole variety. Let me get this thing closer in here. Got the sun golds. Look at those. Those are so bright. Loving these. These things are so sweet. If you never had them before, like I was saying, they're chill to grow, man. It's easy. They're bomb. And there's a little cherry tomatoes. People are like, I'm not super into tomatoes. They're so small. You can jam on them. Good for the kids. All right, this is looking pretty good. I'm going pretty fat on it. Get a nice variety. You know what? Let's just go big today. I'm just putting them all in. No snacks left over. That's all good. All right, I'm going to hit it with a little more olive oil on top. Some salt. Always season your pie. And a little pepper, just to keep it funky. Gonna pick this thing up on the peel. Got the uni heated. I'm gonna crank it down right before I load it. We'll get this loaded up. Watch this thing bake. Give this thing a taste. Getting this thing loaded up. Before I load it onto the peel, you wanna check to make sure you don't have anything underneath here or on their sides, because if that gets stuck underneath, that can cause you issues with the load or on the first turn. And if you're feeling scared, you can kind of pick it up a little bit, even like that. Once you get on the peel like this is your final chance to kind of stretch it one more time. Arrange your toppings. Like, sometimes when you pick it up, they slide around a little bit. This is looking good to me. You always want to work super quick on this part because it'll start sticking on the metal. Gonna get it loaded. Looking pretty good. Look at the timer going. I got the uni turned all the way down now, but it was pretty hot when I was loading it. It looked like the last check was 850 on it. Shooting for around a 3-minute bake. Got the dial turned all the way down. I'll probably go pass into that super low zone later on in the bake, but let's get this thing going. Almost up. First turn's about 30 seconds in. It's looking hot in there, looking pretty good. Don't want to go too early though, because that's how you rip it. You want to go in there quick. I'm using a peel. A turning peel is a better method. I'm going to get the first turn going. Looking pretty good. 37 seconds. I'm going to get going one more time here. Want to make sure that doesn't burn. Some nice little smaller leopard. This is different than I was seeing last night. I had a little more varied. I'm not as into that, but it still looks pretty good to me. Up to almost a minute. Go in here for another turn. Looking a little light back there. So far, so good though. I mean, the worst thing is just having a totally scorched, burn pie, or you rip it. The slower bake, I'm down with that. However you get it done. Keep turning this thing. All right, you're looking pretty good. I like that small leoparding. So, some of those big leopard spots are dark. They look really cool on the gram sometimes, but in reality, they can often taste not that good. So, bake what you like. Make sure that you're eating tasty pies. But it's cool when they look good too, but do what you can do. Got this thing going. It's pretty good. So we're up to 145. I'm gonna go, actually look at that. That's getting a little dark back there. I'm gonna turn that, and now I'm gonna go past the little lightning bolt symbol here, turning it way down into that lower bake version. Got this thing all the way down to finish it, because I'm seeing that's looking pretty dark to me. The bottom's baking up really good. Seeing that looking pretty good. We'll just let this thing kind of finish off. You don't want to be touching that too much. I got my asbestos fingers going. It's a bad habit of mine, but be safe. This thing is hot. We're up to almost 230. That's looking pretty good to me. Like I was saying, I'm going for like a 3-minute bake. We'll kind of dome this thing too. Get some more color on the top. That's it you want to do sometimes. So like, oh, we got in here. How's that looking? So good, yeah. Ooh, yeah. It's getting a little going a little bit much on that, but you can do that to finish it off to kind of get that brownie on the top. But you don't want to go too big or you got some burnt spots. We're up to 245. I'm gonna get this thing even more down. Looking pretty good. Checking that thing. It looks pretty nice. Maybe a little light there. Have it kind of finished off here. And two, I don't know if you've seen before, like on that where that I don't know if that's refire, but it's looking pretty dark. But you can kind of just like hang it off the side so it doesn't bake anymore. Don't want that to be any more burnt. We're up to a little over 3 minutes. I'm about to pull this thing. This is the last pie for today, so I'm just gonna turn the gas off now. Let it bleed out as it finishes up here. Burning off the last of that gas. Get the uni all turned off. Taking a look at this thing. Looking pretty good. It may be a little small. That looks pretty good to me. I don't even know if I'd dome this anymore. I don't want to burn it, but it's looking pretty good. Maybe we'll give it one little last flash here. We're up to 330. Pulling this thing out. That looks really good. That white, like milky looking cheese in there with the rainbow of color of tomatoes. It's a full rainbow party in there with all those tomatoes. That fresh basil looking bomb. I'm even debating if I'm gonna hit it with the fresh basil because this looks bomb already. This pizza's looking pretty good. Firemost headband, Firemost Farms, cherry tomatoes, the homegrown, the OG. Like I was saying, this is one of the easiest pies you could ever make if you're growing your own, which I always recommend in the summer. Cherry tomatoes, really easy to grow. Bomb on pizzas, bomb on a lot of things. We just hooked it up, just a base of some olive oil, some garlic, the fresh cherries, the fresh mozz, some olive oil, baked up really nice. About 3 minutes, 30 seconds on this one. I'm sorry, but I had some technical difficulties. Amateur hour on the bake filming, so it looks like we lost it. So we might be shooting this one with no bake, but it was an uneventful one. That's what we like. I was like kind of showing off of some doming techniques. That maybe is what got this a little bit dark here, but the bake overall looks really good on this one. I'm happy with it. I increased the 00 on this mix a little more, going for a little more Neapolitan vibes, if you want to call it that. Got like the fatty cornichon going. I like that with a little mix of leopardine. I baked one up last night. I felt like the leopardine was a little better. I really like that like kind of hybrid mix of small ones and big ones, and overall the flavor, it didn't taste burnt. That's always what I want. The flavor's the really important thing. It might look cool on the gram, but if it doesn't taste good, who cares? This one's looking really good to me. I ended up finishing it with, I got the basil for the bake because that perfumes it really nice, and then I added it post too because we got a fatty plant growing right now. I'm into it. Let's see, what slice should I go for here? I'll go, this one, it keeps calling me, even though it's got a little bit of crispiness on it. I'm into it. Looking pretty good. We're going for the thin, like, look at that. I'm into that whole structure there. It looks pretty good to me. Nice and airy. The dough's fully cooked through, no gum line. That's a key thing. Sometimes you always see people advertising the 60-second pizza. It doesn't matter if it's 60 seconds if it's not cooked. If you got that gum line, that's where it's like uncooked dough right on that cheese. Your cheese could be cold, your sauce could be cold, your oven's not at the right temp, your bake's a little off. It's not good though. It's gummy, not into it. So bake it as long as till it's done. That's what I'm into. Give this thing a taste. It's like a little bit dip in there, but I'm into it. This thing's heavy with those cherry tomatoes. Those gush out kind of a lot of water on the pie, especially with the fresh mozz. But this looks good to me. Let's give it a taste. Oh yeah, this one just tastes, it's the summer garden right here on a pizza. It tastes so fresh, really yummy on the sourdough. When I'm talking sourdough too, it shouldn't have that, for me at least, I don't like going for a super strong flavor on that, but it has just like, a little bit of something to it that like, man, that tastes like really good dough. I'm into this one, that mix of that 00 with the bread flour, a little durum in there. It's soft and tender, but with a little crunch and chewy. I like, let's bring all your favorite elements into one pie. I don't know. I'm trying to do something like that sometimes. I like that crunchy, that soft. I like it all. It's really fresh flavors. I'm into it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please like and subscribe if you do. I'll throw the recipe up on the blog along with some little info about this week's dough, what kind of mix I got going up. Got much more baking up. Hope you enjoy. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Keep dreaming on that pizza. Making pizza. The more you experiment, the more you learn. It's the bomb. It's Hetty's. One love.